What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for November 22nd, 2022. That is a lot of multiples of 11 for all you math people out there. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can do a Google search and you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's 11 22 22. Just a quick housekeeping thing before we get started today. There is no Back to the Future this week due to Thanksgiving. Just a lot going on between regular work and just traveling, preparing to go to fam. It's too much. We'll be back the week after in December with kind of our next segment. I don't want to call it a season, but next segment. We kind of ran through the first round of topics I had, so be a good time to take a break and kind of reset and see where we're at and then evaluate everything. But thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. All right, so a couple quick updates. Temple Owls lost last night to the St. John's Red Storm, 78-72. It was way past my bedtime, so I did not watch it. But from what I've seen on the highlights and the recaps, they just turned the ball over too much. It was, once again, another game they should have won. This team very easily could be 5-0. And they just are making silly mistakes. I don't know if they're because they're young, just taking a while to get adjusted. I'm not sure. But they'll be back in action tonight against the Richmond Spiders. And then I believe after that, they have a couple of their Big Five games. And then they go right into the AAC schedule. So, tough one for the Owls. Hopefully they bounce back against the Richmond Spiders, a former A10 foe for them. So, Flyers lost 5-2 to the Flames. Just like one of my Flyers experts said, you're going to see them kind of fall back to earth, and this is, to be honest, this is what we want. I don't understand the pushback, and that could definitely be a future episode on Back to the Future. But I don't understand the issue with tanking. The Flyers, as they are composed right now, will not be able to kind of turn it around anytime soon. They're kind of stuck in that purgatory where maybe you get one of the last playoff seeds, or you're just not getting a high draft pick, kind of what the Sixers did. We said the verdict was still out on them, but for the most part, they did change the culture and attitude and just view of the franchise around. So, listen. Got to do the way the rules are set up. It rewards you for tanking. So, again, I don't have a problem with it because at the end of the day, you are responsible for putting a winning team on the floor or the ice or the court or the field, whatever it is. And if it means taking a couple steps back and losing in order to build that up, I'm all for it. You may disagree. Let me know what you think in the comments. Shoot me a message or whatever. But I don't have a problem with it. And if it's going to help your team get better, let's do it. All right. And the big story is that Ben Simmons returns to play the Sixers tonight. And guess what? Nobody on the Sixers is playing. So Ben's going to get his win. The crowd's going to boo him. He's going to be able to talk his trash. And everybody's going to be happy. Who cares? Harden, Maxey, and Embiid are all out tonight. So go ahead, Ben. Maybe you'll shoot a couple and make them. Anyway, let's get into This Day in Philly Sports History. I don't even know which way we're going to go with this. So I'll let you decide. But we're going to go all the way back to 1920. And the Phillies traded a pitcher named Eppa Rixey for another pitcher named Jimmy Ring. And a throw-in that trade was an outfielder named Alfred Earle Greasy Neale. So why am I telling you this? Who are these people? What one of those names should sound very, very familiar to Eagles fans. And that name would be Alfred Earle Greasy Neale. He is their head coach who led them to the back-to-back NFL championships in 1948 and 49. So it's just interesting that the Phillies traded for a player who would later go on to be the coach of the Eagles. But this is not just any coach, or any guy anyway. So here are some of the numbers and stats on Greasy Neale. He was a former baseball player, MLB player for the Reds. Played his whole entire career with the Reds except for those 22 games he played with the Phillies in 1921, that season. But He was a 259 career hitter, not that bad. He in 1919 was the Reds' leading hitter in the World Series, which you might remember for some of you MLB historians out there. The 1919 World Series was the Black Sox scandal, where a lot of the players on the White Sox allegedly got paid off by professional gamblers to throw the series. So it kind of takes away, and I'll be completely honest, I never knew this or really paid attention to who they played until I was kind of doing the research for this. And I'm like, oh, wow. The Cincinnati Reds got a pretty raw deal on that because nobody talks about them. They had a great season that year coming out of the National League. Greasy Neale in that World Series hit 357. Now, was that inflated because of the alleged throwing of the series? We're not sure, but either way, Greasy Neale was a busy guy because after that World Series and after every Major League Baseball season, in the fall, he would go and he was a college football coach. And not a very bad college football coach either. He led Washington and Jefferson College to the 1921 Rose Bowl, in which they tied the California Bears. So not too bad. Oh, and he also coached Virginia baseball, University of Virginia baseball. He was their coach for a few years. He coached Marietta basketball. So he was just one of those guys who was just involved in everything. He was a great athlete, good baseball, basketball, and football player. But he was more obviously well known for being a coach at the college level. Got his shot in the pros and took the Eagles to 3 straight Eastern Division championships, 47, 48, and 49, and those 2 NFL championships, 48 and 49, which now that we've won a Super Bowl, totally count as championships now. So we are now the 4-time NFL champions. So just something, little tidbit, because now that we won the Super Bowl and that's what the championship is, all those other ones come back into play as far as I'm concerned. If you don't agree, good for you. Anyway, so more about Greasy Neale. He's the first person to be named to the Hall of Fame in college football as well as pro football as a coach. Here we go. I kept my coughing streak alive too. Jeez, if I can get rid of this cold. But so he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, then into the NFL Hall of Fame. He is in the Eagles Hall of Fame as well. He was inducted in 1987. So not a bad little record there for a guy, but he was a good coach. He actually, from what I read, was also a pretty decent amateur golfer as well. So I feel like back then you had guys like Greasy Neale, obviously, I guess, and like Jim Thorpe, who all they did was play everything. Like they were great at it. It kind of reminds me of Bo Jackson, who I actually started reading a book on Bo Jackson, who I loved as a kid. But Bo Jackson was just great, and like those commercials were great. The Bo knows, but he did it all. Greasy Neale, not only could he do it all, he was a hell of a coach at that. So on this day in Philly sports history, the Phillies traded pitcher Eppa Rixey for Jimmy King and Earl Greasy Neale, who would later become the Hall of Fame head coach of the Eagles. So is this a Phillies day, an Eagles day? Who knows? But either way, I thought that was a very interesting one. Give you guys a little history lesson on Thanksgiving week. But go have yourselves an enjoyable Tuesday. For many of you, it's a short week. If you're traveling, please be safe. Be sure to download if you're flying any of the Back to the Futures or This Day in Philly Sports History, so you can keep up to date with what's going on. It's a good listen for a plane ride. If you have they're about 30, 35 minutes each, so go do that. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Jimbo_Mont. And until next time, I will see you when I see you.